Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. We are going to continue our amazing journey in learning just a little more about this ancient language, my native tongue, a day. I've been doing this for over a year. I'm still enjoying sharing this with you. Yesterday, we talked about 集中力量办大事, which is a high note or a slogan or the propaganda keyword since 2022. Because during COVID times, not only China, the country is powerful enough, the government is powerful enough over its people that it can lock the people up at short notice, like just at will. Okay. And then this is their argument of why they're doing so, because they can gather all the resources and make a big decision and cut big deals, can make some big things happening because it's of centralized resources and centralized thinking and execution. So I forgot to point out that the way the words are put together, 集中力量办大事, okay, you see the tonation, 集中, and then 力量办大事, everything is falling down. If you've been following the episode along for a while, that doesn't occur that often, that you have falling tones, because in English, falling tone means we're ending a flow of meaning, a segment of meaning, right? So there you use the landing tone. But in Chinese, we don't exactly have this falling tone as the landing, as the closing. We use falling tone whenever the word requires, right? So it matters how the words are put together so that you don't get into too many, it's like too many bumpers in your pronunciation. You have to fall again, right? So whoever put this together only pay attention to the meaning, didn't pay attention to the pronunciation, so that this one sound quite I don't want to say, but curt or whole nation wise, this one doesn't sound pretty. This one had lacked the flow. This one is like very jammy. 集中力量办大事. Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, today we continue with two characters. One is 是, one is 大, but the order completely flipped. Instead of 大事, well, this we're talking about big matter as well, but we're using another phrase, 兹事体大. 兹事体大. Okay. As a Chinese user, if we see 兹, okay, something referring to the past, because in contemporary Chinese, we use 这个. It's like this, right? So if you're learning Chinese a little bit, you will know this, we're using 这个. And even a little bit further, we may use 此, like referring to this one we're talking about. But when we use 兹, that's like tracing back to time of the language use even further. It's kind of like an English word, which ones were popular during what era. So by the vocabulary that person used, you can almost tell from which epoch that person came from. So here, occasionally, 兹事体大 occasionally was brought back to life to kind of a frame, almost like give us a sense of history in there, simply because this character 兹 is an ancienter, more ancient way to say this instead of 此 or 这. Okay, so 兹 came from this baby bundle thing with plant on the top, and there are two of them. Okay, here the two circles connected with a line. In some characters, that was said to mean babies in a bundle, because only the head and the legs bind together. They're not mobile at all, right? They are like a big worm wrapped in cloth. So that's baby image. Another version of that is it could mean something kind of wrapped in a, well, here's total imagination. This means something related to thread. So if you ever work with thread work, there's threads, how we store them. We store them on spools, right? We have to wrap them around somewhere. Otherwise, it will all go entangled and it will spend forever time to sort them out. So this spoon from the top down look, or from the bottom up, are two circles, right? Two circles. So here I don't know the ancient way the spoon was designed, but it could be something similar, kind of a column shape that you wrap the thread around. And then maybe for longer thread, they don't want to cut it. They want to retain the longer the thread, the less connection of the thread, that means less bumble in the fabric, the more smooth the overall texture is. Probably that feels more luxurious, right? So the ancient times, the storage of thread could be, they don't cut, they start a new spool and keep circling, but they don't cut it. So that's why there's a connector. That's my imagination that I just came up with. And that's the thread storage way. And contemporary Chinese, we simply use that symbol also to mean thread. So there you can see the same image can came from two different sources, can be a representation of two different visuals or matters, baby or spools of thread. In any case, okay, they are placed underneath the plant symbol, and there are two of them. The whole thing simply means plants are a lot, growing fast. And if you put baby under the plant, that makes sense. I mean, this is new life, is growing fast. Two of them means many, right? And if you put thread, it probably also makes sense. And that means the plant also kind of like a spools of thread, like extending or far-reaching with its network of thread, like connections, maybe under the root, like the root, because here it's placed underneath the plant symbol. I mean, plant symbol normally sitting on the top in a character in frame. So the thread, spools of thread symbol beneath it, it could imply the root, right? The root are growing like a thread. And that's why it got extra power, boosted vitality. And so oftentimes, because Chinese is an agrarian society, looking at the plant, how things are growing, are kind of essential skill for your survival, right? You have to know how your crops are growing and also know how the weeds are growing, right? So plant familiarity symbols derived, geez, I forgot my word. Symbols that you get from plant are often used, then extended into everyday life. So over time, this plant-based symbol were used to mean human life and further extracted into just this. I mean, whatever like Chinese characters that become abstracted into this, and this can mean, okay, this is a Chinese character for variable, even English too. When English say this or that, right? This means something closer to you. That means something further away spatially for you. But this and that can be anything referring to, right? So this and that becomes a variable. Like we don't have a concrete thing in there, but we're just using this and that to point. It's like a pointer, right? So in math, in algebra, that will be a variable. You don't know what that is. It's just A and B simply, right? So this is a Chinese A, like A matter, referring to this. And because it's ancient, it adds actual weight to it. So 姿势, when we hear that, it's almost like it would zoom 3 times out from 这. to zi. To zi is like 3 layers up. We are kind of extending our visuals or mindset of the scope of the matter to even triple size. So that's zi. And shi, review, okay, this is somebody's head, somebody's head, which together combined with the headgear is a symbol for somebody working for the government, so government official. And then this is the hand symbol. Well, what I was talking, okay, government official hand symbol means the government official carry out some orders. So government official, if they wear such headgear, most likely they are what we call literature men, like they are liberal arts majors, basically. They can recite poems after poems and understand the same Confucius teaching, things like that. So they're educated, so they handling a lot of writing. So that's why this 3-finger hand holding onto a staff, supposedly, I mean, it's probably not holding the body of this government official, but it's the staff of the brush, the brush of for calligraphy. Ancient times, I mean, we don't have pencils back then, right? Pencil is a recent invention. So this writing and this government official writing becomes matter because probably, I mean, back then it's a central government, just like today. It's a central government giving out central orders from the emperor, layer down to provinces, to counties, to cities, to towns, to villages. So layering down, and the government officials hold a lot of power because they are the order executors from the high up, and what they are handling, at least, I mean, they are probably the group of literature men back then, and they are probably the most language user. So they would assign what they are doing, which is government official writing, giving orders or pass information. Basically, they are a communicator from the top, from to bottom, right? Downward communication and upward as well. They assign that as that's the matter, that's the importance. It's more than, say, agriculture activity or commerce, trade. Government matters is the most important matter. So that eventually got abstracted, referred to all kinds of matters. And so if this is a variable of A, we don't know what it is about. And this is a little bit more concrete, and it means events or happening or process or some doing, some sort of doing. And this came from this government order execution type of doing. And that got abstracted. That means it's another layer of variable, right? It's better than A. It's super abstract. You don't know what it's talking about. And here it's like, okay, A in the realm of happening. So A simply means something procedurally happening. Okay, so if shi is procedurally, then ti is scope or spatially. It means some or physically. Because okay, if shi means a process, something is happening over time or some steps you have to follow, right? This is shi, something happening, it's ongoing. There's time talking about it, and this is a space. Okay, so if this is time, this is space. Okay, you very abstract that like that. And ti means it came from body, came from human body, but eventually it just means a body. So body means volume, means the scale of things. And here is the body being big means the scale is big. So ti, okay, wait, quickly. This is meat symbol, and this is bone. Actually, this is a joint of a bone. I guess the ancient anatomy, whoever came up with the character, probably saw some joint structure, and this is how they represent, like between bone and bone, some connecting mechanism. And then with meat, so this by itself in contemporary Chinese means bone, because meat have to attach to the bone. And then the right side is kind of offering. So this is container, and these are the like crops or whatever the goodies from human society that we highly regard as valuable or delicious, whatever, put in a container on this pedestal. Well, even if this character contemporarily means beans, it's such a small thing, right? But this beans came from the source of it's cooked in a cookware, and this cookware looks like with a container, with a stand, right, and even with a cover, and the bottom is the floor, the ground. So visually, it means something is holding up from the ground in a container with a cover, right, and then a bigger container of things with top opening and with something inside. The whole image here is type of offering. So it could be some kind of agriculture, fruits or harvest put in a big container as an offering to the benevolent god of weather that grant them a good year so that they have a good harvest, something like that, right? And then that combined with this bone and joint symbol together, that means body, human body. I mean, I would imagine that humans, besides the component, the bones and the meat, the soft and hard part of the human body, and that we will regard our human body as the best thing of the crop, as an offering, as something that's precious, that we will regard it. I would like to think in that way. I don't exactly know how the language creators in ancient times regard human body, but contemporarily, and actually from mostly yoga, right? They would regard human body as a sacred container, meat and bone and tendons, everything inside that's sacred. You're connected, your spirit, your mind, how you're working over here, connected with the whole body. That's a whole system. So this is something sacred. It's almost like an offering. Deserves the offering worth or value that we will view ourselves. Okay, enough of that. So we have spatially, volume, scale, and we have procedurally or temporally over time how things are carried out. So it's basically describing something in 2 dimensions, over time and over space. This saying is really big body, means it matters, it impact, it has great impact. And when we talk about the 姿势, it almost like a scale up of out of your individual sphere, definitely. It's something, in this case, I'm using this example to illustrate what matter would be considered 兹事体大 as a national policy, something like a zero COVID policy. And on the top is a New York Times reported photo of empty Shanghai street. You can see so many car lanes, but it's empty and it's in daylight and hardly any pedestrian, only a loner jogger over there. I mean, I'm glad that at the moment the camera captured some human living in this ghost town. This is Shanghai, super busy mega city in China, right? And it was shut down in March for almost a month. People cooped up at home for a month. And it was still happening until the, what do you call, white paper movement. Young people rebel, protest. Like before then, multiple regions and towns and cities were shut down. So ghost town everywhere in China. And here is a chart, somebody charted up to April of this year. That's after the lockdown of Shanghai, especially because try to contain it within that city. So city lockdown so that other regions in China don't get affected. This, after the shutdown, you can see the national retail sales as well as industrial production both of them are going nosediving to this. China had been priding itself for higher growth rate than the rest of the world, but this year they tanked. So 兹事体大, because this is illustrating that policy, that's ghost town production, at the same time will produce this economic result. So if this is your scorecard by the end of year, I mean, we're going to see it at some point, right? That how you did as a nation, GDP-wise or consumption-wise, nosediving was the result from this policy. And that's from the high-flying economy, and all of a sudden kind of going down. It's artificially created because of this zero COVID policy. So that is the type of 姿势 that we're going to consider as the scale is big enough because it's nationwide impact and because it's a trend turning impact. It comes from, I mean, it's already kind of going downhill, and every country on the planet experienced that at some point during the pandemic, right? Things have to shut down and slow and got impacted at different industries, got impacted differently. But this type of nosediving came from this extreme measure taken. And that's the 兹事体大 talk about. Okay, cashing into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you next day.